This is the Finesse Media Podcast, Season 3.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Jada Adams, and I am a chemistry ACS major, math minor, class of 2021, and I am serving as the 2020-2021 Miss Xavier University of Louisiana. And I just wanted to stop in and wish everyone a great episode and have a wonderful evening discussing different topics and everything. Thank you.
All right, we back. Welcome back to another episode of Finesse Media Podcast, Season 3. I'm your host, Ken of Finesse Media. And as I mentioned to you right before the break, I got more finesses on that's joining me this week. But this time we're keeping it glam. We're opening up March, as we know, as a Women's Month, Women's Empowering Month. And I couldn't do it without Queens. So back again, another HBCU edition of the Queens, this time with Xavier University Queens. So joining me on this podcast for the first time, welcome, I'll just say it all together, the Queens of Xavier University. How you doing, Queens?
We're good.
Good. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So joining me on this episode of Finesse Media Podcast, as I mentioned, the HBCU edition is first up, my queen, HBCU queen from Xavier University, Crown Queen 2001, 2002. Make some noise and show some love for Dr. LaToya Wilson. How you doing, Queen?
I'm doing great.
Good. I was hoping I wasn't going to mess this up because, listen, I know how important your ring is and your crown is looking beautifully tonight. So thank you for rocking out with your crown. I'm going to really save the vet in the game for last. Dr. Lewis, I see you down there rocking your crown. You're looking beautifully. But coming up next is also my good friend I met through the podcasting world and through the Clubhouse world, but she's also a queen. Coming up next from the Xavier University Queen, Dr. Plenty, Crown 2004-2005, Xavier University. How you doing, Queen? How you doing?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Ken?
I'm doing good. Look, Doc, I'm seeing you so much, I feel like we're related now.
Yeah, I heard you tell the rest of the Queens we're cousins.
Yeah,
we were like, oh yeah, that's your cousin? Like, no, y'all, that's not my cousin.
If we do some research, I bet we'll probably figure this thing out. We made the right choices by attending an HBCU, right? So we got a connection there. So thank you again, Dr. Plenty, for joining the episode, and check her out on her podcast, which she's doing amazing things. And we'll jump all into some of that later in this episode. But keeping it rolling with Dr. Mosley, Dr. Jade Mosley, another Xavier University Queen, Crown Queen, 2010, 2011. What's going on, Dr. Mosley?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. Your crown is sitting looking beautifully as well. And you are glowing. I wonder why you're glowing so bright over there. Maybe we'll tap into it later in this episode. But thank you so much, Dr. Motley, for joining this podcast. And last but not least, Dr. Wilson, somewhere close where I'm at in Dallas, Texas, Skyline Alumni High School, but joining the podcast for the first time. She is the Xavier University Crown Queen 1998, 1999. Make some noise for Dr. Januari Lewis joining the podcast. How you doing, Dr. Lewis?
I'm well. Thank you.
Man. Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis, for joining. So as you guys can see, Xavier University has produced beautiful queens and continue to do that down in New Orleans, Louisiana. So we're going to get into all of that. So all of the doctors and the professional Black women as we kick off this March month of madness and the women empowerment. So let's jump right into it. So Crown, the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, I had those queens on last month or a couple of months before, and we jumped all into some of the business and the triumphs and the struggles that they had to deal with being the queen. One of the queens said, heavy is the head that wears the crown, which means it's not easy, holding down the crown, being Xavier, Miss Xavier University. So Dr. Plenty, I come to you first with that question. What was it like being crowned Xavier University? Miss Xavier University.
Yes, Miss Xavier University. Yes, get it right, Ken.
There you check me together, sis.
It was an amazing experience. I mean, being the voice of students on campus, I think it's always an honor and a privilege to represent everyone else. And working with administration and student affairs, it was a great privilege. And as being Miss Xavier, we're more than just, pageantry queens. We are actually elected queens, we campaign, we run, we are about business of the university, and we serve as the ultimate ambassadors of the university. And we continue to do so even now as forever queens, forever Miss Xaviers. So I think that it's a great honor, and we are definitely taken seriously by our administrators and the leaders of the university. And we are seen more so as almost like consultants for the students.
That is amazing, because when you're a queen, you're definitely representing the university. You're sitting on inside of meetings, and you're just welcoming your guests in with so much beautiful and finesse, right? So, Dr. Wilson, tell me about that time when you were on campus and you saw other queens, and you said to yourself, "Hey, I'm going to do that." What made you choose to get in your heels and click them twice and say, "I'm going to be the next queen crown"?
When I first got to Xavier, I served on homecoming court on different committees. And the first Miss Xavier that I met was Dr. Januari Lewis. And I served on her homecoming committee. I believe it was for the parade. And then I worked the ball my freshman year. And I remember her slogan. It stood out to me so vividly. It was endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit through the bonds of peace. And being that I am a very spiritual person, a preacher's granddaughter, deacon's daughter, I was drawn to the fact that her faith drove her in her leadership, and it was evident. And so I was like, I want to do what she's doing. She was a great mentor and role model, and the rest is history. And I hope that we who have followed in her footsteps have made her proud.
That's super amazing. So, Doc, I'm coming right to you. You look at us. I mean, that's love from another queen, right? That's how we show love, right? Love from another queen. So, Dr. Lewis, I'm coming right to you. Just like the top of the year, January you are. What was that like, being crowned Xavier University?
It was amazing. It was unexpected. It wasn't something that I'd ever dreamed of doing. I came to Xavier, with a plan. I knew what I wanted to do, and to be Miss Xavier wasn't part of it. I actually went into the pharmacy track, and the university, most people are in the general student body, and pharmacy students are kind of way over there to the side. And everybody felt like there was a division. When they would find out I was in pharmacy school, they'd be like, "Wait a minute, you're one of them?" I was like, "What do you mean I'm one of them? I'm one of y'all." And so I actually picked the slogan that LaToya just mentioned, because I was like, y'all, we all in this thing together. We got to be in here together. It doesn't matter if you're Greek or not. It doesn't matter, where you're from. It's about the fact that it's where you're at. Mm-hmm. We as Xavier, and we're going to come together. So my big thing was, stop looking at how we're different, and let's celebrate how we are the same. Absolutely. So I was pleased to be one of the first pharmacy students to be crowned Miss Xavier, one that was not Greek affiliated to be Miss Xavier. And I was the first, and I think I might still be the only plus size Miss Xavier.
Oh, you got to stand up, because I don't see no weight over there. You done dropped all that, Doc.
I did. That I did. So amazing times.
That's cool. And as you mentioned, doing something different, and with the most recent queen we have here, and shout out to Jada. Jada joined us at the top of the episode. She gave you love, which is the current Miss Xavier University. So shout out to Jada. Thank you so much for, giving the queens love on this episode. Certainly don't want to miss that. But the most recent that we have live with us is Dr. Mosley. How was that when you became, Miss Xavier University? What did you do different during your campaign that you saw that no other, previous queen had done before?
Well, to piggyback what Januari said, I was also one of the queens that was in pharmacy school. So that was completely different. Just being in my reign, learning how to balance both being in professional school as well as trying to just serve as a queen. But when I started running, I really just reached out to everybody. I also am not Greek. And so I really wanted to build connections that I noticed. So reach out to every single organization, every single student body, and just really kind of pull them in. And I've really made the campaign fun, made everyone feel like they were a part of it. My last name, maiden name is Young. So I wanted everyone to feel like they were always forever young, always welcome at Xavier, and always a part. So that's what I did.
I think every Greek organization prides themselves on having a great deal of the student government association that are leaders that happen to be a member of their organization. I was friends with a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life. I also had the challenge of having studied abroad the semester before I ran for Miss Xavier. So I counted a blessing and a lot of grace that I was able to be crowned Miss Xavier. That gave a testament to the depth of relationships that I had formed prior to studying abroad, and the fact that I tried to be there as just I'm a student, you're a student. We both want what's best for our careers and for our community and for the love of New Orleans. And so the being a member of a Greek organization became sort of like a subplot and not the thing that defined me most. So I think that helped by not leading with crimson and cream.
There you go. There you go. Go ahead, Dr. Lewis.
Can I add something to that? I have to say this. So we do have, and there's always a battle, don't get it wrong. We have the AKs one year that are Miss Xavier. We have the Deltas the next year. But as soon as that election, those results are out there, everybody comes back together. That's one of those things you don't have to worry about. Xavier's really small, and we are a real family. So we may, go back and forth like your brothers and like your sisters. But when it's time to stand up for the family, doesn't matter what colors you wear, doesn't matter where you came from. It's all of us together. So I bet, like I said, I didn't have that Greek backing, but the love just came from everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so I'm imagining that's what Dr. Wilson felt as well.
Absolutely. And that is the cool thing about being in the HBCU. No matter where you attended your HBCU, I think we all can connect on the experience of education with the personal touch, from having that experience from our professors and from our, deans that's saying, hey, get your butt back in class, or get, what you need to do to get up out of here, get done what you need to have done. So that's one of the things I want to ask to Dr. Plenty. As you are on campus, if you can recall, running to be Miss Xavier University, how was that experience for you? What was that HBCU experience like, if any? Did the campus for you sort of rally around your campaign, or what was that felt? What was that experience? Do you remember that emotion?
Oh, I remember it. I mean, there were initially 4 of us running at one time.
Oh, wow.
And of course, you're always going to have somebody that is a Delta running. You're always going to have somebody that is an AKA, and you're going to have people that basically have their own identity on campus, whether that's them being in the Xavier Activities Board, or perhaps they're a cheerleader. So we had definitely people that were involved running. But I definitely think that people may think, oh, you're an AKA, so all the AKAs are going to back you. That is not the case. I think that, and it's not like everybody that was a Delta or interested in Delta would back this, back the Delta. People definitely ask questions at Xavier. They want to know your platform. They want to know what you're going to do. And so for me and my campaign, I had a big campaign, and my thing was, if you're going to work with me on my campaign, you have to understand the vision, and you have to understand the platform. So if somebody comes up and asks you, hey, what does Nicole feel about X, Y, and Z? Everybody needs to know it that's working with me. It should be like they're talking to me if they're talking to you. So for me, it was very well structured. It was structured, it was coached, it was thorough. And I had Deltas, I had AKAs, I had people that were not Greek, I had basketball players, I had cheerleaders, I had people from all different walks of life involved in different arenas on campus on my campaign. And so I definitely think that people ask pertinent questions, and it wasn't like a lot of bias, like, oh, I'm interested in AKA, so I'm going to vote for her, or I'm interested in Delta, so I'm going to vote for her. People were serious about this campaign. And so it is very much so a serious matter when you're running for the Queen.
No pun intended. No pun intended. But Dr. Motley, because you were on campus in 2010 and 2011, you graduated in 2014. So you're closely, the one that I can reference. What types of things that you did, when you were on campus, when you were running for, the queen status, and that experience that you felt from your campus, was that at all a fact for you at all?
For sure. So actually, I'm a New Orleans native, born and raised. And the interesting thing about Xavier is we have a lot of locals that attend the university, but it's hard to find locals who are really involved in a lot of the organizations. A lot of us tend to just go to campus, go home afterwards. And so that was something I felt like I was missing out on the full HBCU experience when I first came in my freshman year. So that was really one of the things that I wanted to help bring, kind of boost the morale of our local students, as well as getting everyone involved. And so as I started progressing throughout the years, I started noticing, campus activities. And that was really one of the biggest things that I ran with my platform. And I saw just that community feeling, the family, everyone at Xavier is really close. Your teachers, your professors, your classmates, we're all look out for each other. A lot of my friends that I met there are now families. So that was my platform. Yeah.
No, that's super amazing because you're in a spot where technology is big and is continuing to grow. But see, Dr. Lewis, I'm not saying that was hundreds of years ago, but in
Hold up
19,
now. Hold up.
but wait, let me get to it, Doc. Let me get to it, Doc. I'm not saying that's a long time ago, but for you, how were you able to connect your HBCU experience with your reign and campaign, doing while running, as Miss Xavier University? What did you do different?
Way back then, I hopped on my dinosaur. I mean, it was completely different than what you do now. I mean, it was a grassroots type effort. I mean, number one, you had to really pound the pavement to get your message out. We were actually making flyers. I remember man, I'm really about to date myself. I remember making flyers on my brother word processor. Yep. Okay. And pass them around campus, hand drawing them and having to take them to a copy machine and get copies made, cutting them up with, I mean, it is nothing like it is now. And thank goodness there was no social media because I might not have gotten elected. But I'm telling you, it was amazing. But again, it was about the connections. I was there at the time where New Orleans was on the music scene. You talk about entertainment. We talking about the No Limit Soldiers. We talking about Cash Money. Like, I mean, it was everything. So everything, there was a lot of focus on Xavier. So we would have people from all over and you had to make sure that you knew the right people. And if you got in front of the right person, your platform just went everywhere. So I was able to make a few good connections, make some things happen. And it really was a matter of thinking outside the box. A lot of people just want to be cute. You know what I'm saying? And they think that's going to pull it. No, you got to do some work, to get in here. And so back then it started a legacy and it's just continued to keep going. So
that's what's up. Putting in that work, Dr. Lewis. And that's what I want to segue to. So when you're thinking about, attending a college, how did you guys, and this is to anybody, I'm just going to throw this out here, but how did you guys, figure out that, okay, Xavier University is going to be my university of choice. And then now let me start to put in the work.
Well, for me, it was a matter of, initially I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I realized doing mock trial, like, I don't really want to pick my words forever, like argue and pick my words and stay up to 2:00 in the morning. Because that's what you did on mock trial in high school. So I was like, I can't do that. And then I got nominated for the National Youth Leadership Forum on Medicine and went to LA for a couple weeks. 7 counselors were there. 3 were Black. All 3 went to Xavier for undergrad and were in med school. I hadn't even heard of Xavier and I'm from Louisiana. So after that, I was like, well, let me go and look up Xavier because I think I want to do this. So then once I looked up Xavier, I was like, okay, wait a minute. So these people are number one in placing African-Americans into med school. And they have been since 1993. So if I think I want to be a doctor and I'm Black, why do I not want to go there? So that was the reason that I wanted to go there because I'm like, they show and produce. They're going to get me where I need to go. And then once I got there, I realized, oh, these people are serious. So if I do the things that they tell me to do, I'm going to get to the places that I need to go. And the pre-med department is some serious stuff. You have to have your personal statement written by October of your freshman year. You need to figure out what you're going to do that summer by December, what you're going to do each summer. You have to turn your grades into an advisor every week. So it is very structured, regimented, and serious. So I'm excited that I went there. I'm glad that I chose to go there. Had I not chosen to go there, I probably wouldn't be a doctor right now because I think that people need structure. Me coming from a background, a low socioeconomic status, my mom was not a college graduate. My dad died when I was 10 years old. So to not have that like professional guidance and not have people around me that were college grads, like I wouldn't have known how to navigate that scene. So I'm glad that I went to Xavier. It definitely helps you navigate things. You do exactly what they tell you to do. You will go where you want to go.
And become doctor.
Yes. Board certified doctor.
There you go. No, anyone else want to take that question about why did you choose Xavier, as your college of choice?
So to piggyback off of that, I actually had a little different story. I knew I always wanted to go to a HBCU. But I was actually completely opposed to going to Xavier, mainly because my mom went there, my dad went there, my whole family was there. It was right down the street from my house. I'm like, at least I got to stay on campus or something. But Xavier was not in the cards for me. And I don't know, it was just every single person that I tended to meet that were successful or that looked like me, they went to Xavier. So it was everything put in that little bug in my ear, like, this is the school that's for you. So last minute, I changed and decided to go to Xavier. And it was the best decision I could have ever made. because I feel like it really set me up to put me in the career that I am now, because like I said, our professors really want to put you forward. We're not another number in the class. Everyone knows you by name. They focus on you. They show you, they push you forward. They show you attention. So all of that really molded us into, I think, who I am today. So I have all of that to thank for Xavier. So
Dr. Motley, as you continue to speak, I'm just hearing now your New Orleans accent. In the beginning, I did not hear it.
He's gonna hit you with a yeah, baby. Wait, baby. There you go.
And I mean, really, last month I had on some great guests from New Orleans, Louisiana. Shout out to the Sweet Bells Factory. They're from where you're from. They're in Dallas, Texas, Dr. Lewis. If you didn't check them out, they're running the streets here in Dallas, Texas, and they were on a couple of episodes back. But yeah, I love my New Orleans people. You just made me want a beignet and just good old, a good gumbo soup, like for real. From Chicago, so I love food. But I want to keep this thing moving and asking you about the last thing for the Queen's reigns, and then I'll ask you one last professional question. But where were you when you first found out that you were crowned Miss Xavier University? Anybody?
We all remember.
Yeah, we all remember.
Where were you at? Where were you at in that moment?
It's surreal. I'll go first, and I have an embarrassing story. I'm not even gonna tell you. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. So my campaign manager is LaToya's, or Dr. Wilson's husband. And I didn't expect to win. I'm gonna tell the truth. I mean, I had given it my all, but like the day before election, somebody came out with a parade throwing beads, and they brought in a second line. I mean, it was going down with the Indians on the yard, and I was like, man, they got me. There's nothing else I can do. So when they announced that, I was on the yard right outside the student center, and I was nervous. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't eaten all day. I was just waiting. And they get out there, and I'm not trying to call anybody else. You got all these people up here making cat calls and doing their little, whatever's. And they posted those announcements. And somebody ran outside and screamed, January 1. And I started jumping. My big butt was moving. I think everybody was bouncing because I was bouncing. And I was like, oh my goodness. Next thing I know, I got so excited. All I remember somebody grabbing my hand and being like, girl, go to the trash can. I lost it.
I love it.
Lost it. But I'm going to tell you, everybody was just so excited. So I will never forget. I was in the middle of the yard, overwhelmed with joy, and all I could do was praise God. That's
what's up. Anybody else? What were you at when you found out you got the crown?
I was on the yard as well. I was hovering, but I was not brave enough to go to the first floor of the student center to look at the results. I believe it was a young lady that was actually from New Orleans who had previously been in the race and stepped down. And she actually told her campaign committee that she was supporting my campaign going forward. And she went into the student center, came out and was like, you're Miss Xavier. And I was like, no. And she was like, you are. And so she took the paper off of the wall and showed it to me. And we just hugged and cried and hugged. And I thanked her for her support. I'm like, I know it was challenging for you because she had some life circumstances that were going on to step down. And you didn't let your detour stop you from sharing in true friendship. And we just hugged and cried. It was beautiful.
That's what's up. Real sisterhood. I love it. I love it. Dr. Plenty, where were you? Studying?
No, I was not. I wasn't really a nerd. I was on the second floor of the student center at that time. And I was getting ready to help with another event. And I was trying to stay busy. I was staying busy at that time because I didn't want to be disappointed. I was around all these people and I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep it together. I'm not going downstairs. I'm not going to see it being posted. I'm just going to keep on working. And Dean Alcorn walked in and she goes, oh, you're not going to go celebrate? And I said, celebrate what? And she said, well, you must know you won. And I said, well, I hope so. But, I haven't gone and looked yet. She was like, we posted them over an hour ago.
Oh,
and
wow.
I said, well, I guess I should call somebody and see if I won. She was like, oh, yeah, go call somebody because I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you. So she basically was the person that told me while I was working. And it was exciting. I was trying to keep it together because in my head, I was like, if I don't win, you win some, you lose some. This is not going to break you if you lose. So stay focused. But then, of course, I went and celebrated.
That's what's up. I told you were doing something like work. You said you were focused on something. You were working. You were still working. Dr. Motley, where were you?
So I'm actually like a stress eater.
You my people. We might be the cousins.
Yeah. So like whenever I'm under stress or I'm waiting on a result or something, my first thing was to go eat. So there was a Popeyes right down the street. So I did not want to be on campus when the news came out. So my friends and I loaded up in the car, went to Popeyes. When we got back, my phone was like blowing up and I was scared to answer it because I just knew it was bad news. And then when I got back, everybody's like, so are you like hiding? Do you know? And I was like, no, what? And Dean Ridgel at the time was like, you won. And I was like, I won. And it was just kind of like a celebration after that. But I really stepped off of campus because I was just didn't think I had won.
Popeyes is a good distraction. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
I
it was
definitely
good.
wouldn't be thinking about nothing else.
That apple pie.
Right. But did you know that they took away the Cajun rice?
I
Did
heard.
they?
That's crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know
Not
that.
gonna be missed, but the Cajun rice for sure.
It's crazy. So they took away the Cajun rice, but what they haven't took away is y'all crowns. Again, thank y'all so much for wearing them and shining them to our audience tonight. But y'all continue to not wear the crowns on campus. You continue to wear the crowns outside of campus. And what I like to say on this podcast, finesse the game. So as I've been saying to each of you and addressing you by such, because titles for me is definitely earned. Doctor, you have continued to finesse the game off campus. So talk to our listeners, and I'll go with you, Dr. Lewis, here, because I believe in protocol. So Dr. Lewis, I'll go to you first. What are you doing professionally? Because Dr. Lewis, we definitely want to know.
No worries. So after I received an amazing education at Xavier, not only did it prepare me to succeed professionally, but it taught me the game. It taught me about balance. If you can study pharmacy, you know what I'm saying, and go through that very difficult program while still maintaining in New Orleans with really no legal drinking age, you can take on the world. So I came out with an attitude where I knew how to work with people, not based on what they could do for me, but what I could do for them. And so with a heart of service and a mind of, being able to go forward and offer and just let the Lord bless me however he may, I was able to I'm not gonna say master, but I was able to succeed in 20 years in healthcare administration before I retired at the age of 40. I opened up my own strategic consulting business, and now my job is to teach other people the game. I specialize in small businesses, making sure that people get a hand up because, like Nicole was talking about, we all don't have somebody we can look to be able to learn the game. So that's what I do. I teach folks the game.
And keep finessing the game, Dr. Lewis. Thank you so much. And Dr. Wilson, what are you doing professionally?
I have been in public health my entire career. I am a general dentist by profession. And I began working in federally qualified health centers in St. Louis at the time that Missouri decided not to expand Medicaid for adults. And so I spent my first 4 years of dentistry helping patients walk through making tough choices. Many patients, helping them find resources, not just I'm working on your tooth, I'm all in your business, talking about everything. We're going to get you housing. We're going to get you job training. We're going to get your lights on. And at the time I was a member of the Urban League Young Professionals. I'm out of that demographic now, but we would work with the Urban League to find resources for our patients. And that just became my passion, public health. And after I left the Qualified Health Center, my former professor, who actually wrote my pediatric dentistry book that I made him sign when I graduated from dental school, was like, hey, we're hiring at the local pediatric hospital. We're trying to expand our outreach program where we go out into schools and find kids who are in the holes where they're not high enough above the poverty line to fully pay for their services, but then also kids who are new to the country who have provisional Medicaid, which covers medical but not dental. So we raise money, we go do comprehensive care. We make sure that when they come back, they're cavity free, and we graduate them into dental homes. And that has been my ministry now, is to eradicate pediatric health disparities, oral health disparities. And that is all because of Xavier. I think Dr. Carl used to instill in us, he's like, first of all, read Time magazine cover to cover, so that when you go in your interview, ask you about current events and not just whatever you're focused on your profession. You don't say ignorant things and embarrass us, Xavier. But then also he's like, you're going to make money. Be more than just somebody who made money. Do something within your community. And that has just been the banner for me, that I'm like, I don't want to fail Quo Vadis Repster, who's a pre-med advisor now, and Dr. Carmichael, because I'm gonna do a segue, a shameless plug for Xavier. I did not realize that my entire time in Xavier, I was taking cap on cap classes to prepare me to enter into medical school, to pass the MCAT, or to pass the GAT. We met with our advisors every week. We did modules and we had drills and labs, and they were basically like this free training ground. We didn't even realize it. So that you are prepared to pass the MCAT when people pay great money, hundreds of dollars, to prepare for these type of tests. Xavier gave it to us because that was them sowing the seed into us.
That's dope. That is dope.
And I just felt obligated to pay it forward.
That's dope. That's dope. Shout out to Xavier, man. That's what I love about our HBCUs. They really prepare us. Dr. Lewis is throwing up the X. So that's what it is. Our HBCUs, they're our, our breeding grounds, and you can't be in any corporate office and not look to your right or left and know that somebody attended an HBCU. I was in the conference last week with my company, and one person said, I had no idea, about an HBCU until I guess it was something that they had saw on TV. And I'm like, oh, Kamala Harris, right? So I'm like, yeah, it's an HBCU, historically Black college. And my willingness, very so much, to give that information on that call, it left so many people wowed. So that's what I'm saying. And then what my also point was that it was so many people came off me like, yeah, I attended this school. It's an historically Black college. And people were just like, wow, who didn't know? I was like, oh, I didn't know. So each and every time I'm able to enter a room and talk about my experience in an HBCU, and particularly the professionals that grow out of it, I'm happy to do that. So with that being said, let's keep it rolling to my right. Dr. Plenty, what are you doing professionally that's kicking butt?
Well, I don't know if it kicking
no pun
butt,
intended,
but
with the butts.
I am a double board certified OBGYN and maternal fetal medicine specialist, which means that I take care of moms that have high risk complications in pregnancy, such as hypertension, diabetes. They may have cancer, a stroke, heart attack, and other issues in pregnancy, or they may have COVID-19 and be in the ICU. I would be treating those moms during their pregnancy. And I also diagnose fetal anomalies. So diagnose babies with heart defects and brain defects and things like that, and compile treatment plans for those babies. So that is what I do in my daytime job. I'm in Houston, Texas, practicing there. I have an office in downtown with Obstetrics Medical Group of Houston, as well as in our Katy location as well. I live in Katy, so I'm primarily there. On the side, I also, of course, how I know you, Ken, is through podcasts. So the pandemic has really heightened a lot of things. And so during the pandemic, two good things that came out of it is one, That's Deep Black Women Conversations podcast. A friend of mine and I decided to start as a way to basically get each other through the pandemic and talk about what's going on in society. And with that, we decided to partner and raise funds for different health initiatives. So we have joined forces with other organizations. Our first vision board party is Friday. We've joined forces with One Hope Wine to raise money for the Black Women's Health Imperative. And then we'll also be raising money for the March of Dimes. So Janine and I want to find ways to give back to the community, and that's how we give back to the podcast. I also have another podcast called Pregnancy Pearls with Dr. Plenty, which is started out as a YouTube channel, and now it's a podcast as well as a YouTube channel. And I wanted to find a way to help people navigate safely through pregnancies and beyond pregnancy, because as you know, Ken, Black and brown women are more likely to suffer complications and or die during the pregnancy. And so I wanted to be a resource for those women and advocate for them, to tell them what questions they should ask, what they should be looking out for in their pregnancy, how to optimize their care prior to pregnancy to decrease their complications afterwards. And then I also do some things with the American Medical Association, basically uplifting women as the Women Physician Section Governing Council alternate delegate there, basically creating resolutions so that we can go lobby Congress to help get things implemented, like prolonged insurance coverage for postpartum care and things like that. I'm very passionate about those things. I'm very passionate about women's health, especially for Black and brown women, so that we can be here longer for our babies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As you mentioned and noted, a lot of studies I had to kind of unpack and research with my wife. We had three kids, and so each pregnancy was different. We had some scares there, and it was just the care for her. So that's why we, elected for our last child to have it at home because I mean, Doc Lewis, we had our child at Baylor Dallas. You know that hospital. A very prestigious hospital, but it's still just kind of that uneasiness as a black woman. My wife said this going in for the third time. So she didn't want to do it. So we kind of got some private care and done it at home. So, and as you also mentioned the podcast, absolutely. I think the way that HBCUs connect us in so many different ways is amazing. And so just meeting, Janine, shout out to her because she's sent a couple people onto my podcast to talk about their HBCU experience. So, Janine, I know you're watching this, so thank you so much for doing that and being you. And with my last queen, Dr. Motley, please tell us and our listeners, what are you doing professionally?
So I graduated pharmacy school in 2014, and I have been practicing since. I currently am in a suburb of Miami, Florida, Pembroke Pines, where I am a transitions of care pharmacist, meaning that when patients are getting discharged to home or any type of facility from the hospital, I review their medications for drug appropriateness, doses, access to medications, which is one of the biggest things that I got, or one of the biggest reasons that I got into transitions of care. I used to be in the community as well, and I noticed a lot of patients, especially people like my grandma who may have diabetes, are struggling to afford their $300 insulin prescription every month. And so I have a lot of patients who leave the hospital and then come back in 30 days later or less than because they couldn't afford their medication. So I really help them on that side, making sure that things are covered. I also serve as a preceptor for upcoming pharmacy students. And on the side, as well as in my job, I help students with their resumes. I noticed one of the big things at Xavier was that when we were applying for jobs, they made sure that our CVs and our resumes were very polished. They taught us simple things like what to wear to an interview, how to answer an interview question. And I noticed that a lot of students who may not go to a HBCU, who came to me as a student, didn't know those simple things. I would ask them to send me their CV and no one had reviewed it for them. So I really took up an interest in helping students build their resumes, build their CVs, and prepare them for the career path as well.
That's what's up. Giving back as you guys continue to do as queens, leading the community. Man, thank you, Queen, so much for joining this episode. I got one round robin question, and I ask each of you if you can take 30 seconds, and it may be a short ask based off the question, but if you can just keep it to 30 seconds. Each and every week on the Finesse Media Podcast, I ask my finesses, which are you? Who's finessing the game for you? So who's that person professionally or personally you say that's finessing the game for you? Dr. Lewis, I come right back to you for the first answer.
I want to defer. I want us to go backwards this time.
We're going to go backwards. We'll keep it rolling. Dr. Wilson, tell us.
Who's finessing the game for me would be my husband. We're in the trenches digging for the same goals together. He's very supportive, very open, and very much so the will of the people is the law of the land. And so I like to be partnered with someone who is there for others.
That's what's up. Dr. Motley, who's finessing the game for you personally or professionally?
I'm gonna have to use LaToya's answer as well.
Y'all playing it safe. That's what I'm talking about, though. I can't be mad, though. As a
Uplift your husband.
Uplift, ladies.
I'm a Motley. So actually, my husband and I actually met through a HBCU at NASAP. And ever since then, he has been like one of my inspirations. He's always giving back. He's hustling. He's doing everything he can to take care of his family. So gotta love it. Gotta respect it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right, Dr. Lewis, you ready? Who's finessing the game for you?
I get to be last. Okay, so I was trying to go last on purpose. I'm gonna tell you who's finessing the game for me. My fellow queens. All the members of the Forever Miss Xavier group. When I tell you we get together and celebrate our wins, we got so many things coming up. They finessing the game like you wouldn't believe. We have a new episode. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it.
Plug it.
The CEO stands for Crowned, Educated, and on the Rise. It is all of our queens and what they're doing professionally, personally, and to make a difference. We are taking what Xavier gave us and we pouring it back, and my fellow queens are finessing the game.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So Dr. Plenty, she put some weight on you. You got to follow
She
that.
did put some weight on me. We should edit that and let her go last. So of course, everybody's plugged their husband. Yeah, my husband's finessing the game too. He's grinding too. But I do want to make sure I give a shout out to all the Black professional doctors out there. I think that doctors on social media are finessing the game. I think I haven't seen so many young Black educated women put themselves out there to educate the community ever before. So I think that Black doctors, Nicole Sparks is finessing the game, Dr. Jade is finessing the game. And there's so many Black doctors using their platforms for good. So so I think that, yeah, we all finessing it.
That's what's up. And you are all finessing it. So ladies, the queens, Miss Xavier University Queens, thank you so much for joining this episode of Finesse Media Podcast, the HBCU edition, season 3. Thank you so much for kicking this thing off for our Women's Month. And you've been listening to another episode of Finesse Media Podcast, season 3. I'm your host, Ken Finesse Media, and I'll see you next week with something brand new. Peace.
Xavier is a school of excellence. Xavier builds leaders. And not only that, Xavier builds well-rounded leaders.
Everyone here is trying to be the best that they can, and that's why they came to Xavier.
It's not too big, it's not too small. I don't need a bus to get to the other side of campus, which I knew I wasn't gonna work well with.
This school is great because it's placed in New Orleans, which is a huge melting pot in itself. And you know, Xavier really prides himself on community and community service, so we're often going out into the community. So we see people of all races, we see people of all social classes.
The one thing that really brought me to this university was the family atmosphere.
We're a family here, we're community. You find your closest friends, and most importantly, Xavier helps you find yourself.
So it would be an opportunity not only for you to get a great academic ground in a school that's actually quite rigorous and quite prestigious, and then still have fun in the city of New Orleans.
This has been another edition of the Finesse Media Podcast. Join us again next week for the latest news from HBCUs. Special guest